A true Stoic man is not driven by neediness, fear, or impulse. He understands that protecting his resources, like time, energy, money, and even his emotional validation, is essential to maintaining clear boundaries, acting with clarity, and inspiring respect. The most common mistake: believing that always pleasing women guarantees love, when in reality, it destroys your self-confidence. Today, you'll discover exactly how to treat women strategically, preserving your value and creating genuine connections. And pay attention, if you miss any part of this, you'll keep falling into the same emotional traps. So let's get straight to the point and understand the first behavior that separates ordinary men from men who command their own story. If this content resonates with you, share it with a friend who also needs this shift. Leave a comment and hit the like button so more men can find this path. 1. The art of setting boundaries without losing respect. Strategic rejection is the tool that keeps your resources from being wasted. It's not about saying no out of arrogance, but from clarity of priorities. A practical example is refusing to attend events that add no value, even under pressure, and instead using that time to invest in activities aligned with your high standards. This shows emotional control and reinforces the perception that you are not driven by scarcity. A man who lives true Stoic philosophy understands that boundaries aren't cold walls, but bridges that uphold a healthy relationship. By setting clear standards for how he expects to be treated, he sends a silent message of self-respect and self-confidence. For example, if he values his time for training, reading, or working, he doesn't trade it for last-minute meets just to please someone. He understands that every purposeless concession weakens his dignity and undermines reciprocity. Many men cave in for fear of creating discomfort, but fail to see that this fuels a cycle of negative reinforcement. Every time you give up what matters to satisfy a meaningless request, you teach others that your resources are always available. It's like handing over your vault and leaving the key in the door. Instead, stand firm with kindness, explaining when necessary that you need to prioritize personal commitment. Social conditioning often pushes men to always be the emotional and financial provider, confusing generosity with a lack of selectivity. The shift begins when you understand that saying yes to everything is not kindness, it's self-sabotage. Genuine abundance comes from recognizing that your offers have value and must be directed toward those who show respect and reciprocity. When a man develops emotional resilience, he no longer feels guilty for keeping his boundaries. This not only preserves his self-respect, but also increases the attraction and respect he receives. After all, no one values what is handed out without criteria. And if you want your relationships to grow, you must ensure they are sustained by balanced exchanges, not a one-sided flow of concessions. Over time, this posture becomes natural. The daily habit of protecting your time, energy, and money transforms the way you see yourself and how others perceive you. This change sets the stage for an even sharper skill that profoundly impacts your dynamics with women. 2. Resource protection, the Stoic man's invisible shield. A wise man understands that protecting his resources is not selfishness, it's strategy. Time, energy, money, and validation are finite assets, and when mismanaged, they fuel emotional scarcity and exhaustion. The Stoic man, on the other hand, acts like a cautious investor. He applies his resources only in situations and with people that bring a positive return. He knows it's not about giving less, but about giving right at the right time and to the right person. Genuine abundance is born when you learn to say no to what doesn't add value. This might mean declining a request that demands hours of pointless attention or refusing to finance someone's whims. A practical example: if your partner suggests an impulsive expense that doesn't align with your priorities, you stand by your decision with clarity and kindness, explaining that your resources are being directed toward long-term goals. This stance requires self-confidence and self-respect. It's easy to give in when the other person resorts to emotional manipulation, but the Stoic man understands that the temporary discomfort is worth protecting his meaningful life. Every time you keep your no with consistency, you are training not only yourself, but also the other person to respect your choices. Today's culture pushes the narrative that love is giving everything. This conditioning destroys balance, turning the man into an endless provider until there's nothing left of him for himself. True love, and this applies to any relationship, requires reciprocity. Without it, one side only drains and the other only depletes. Protecting your resources also means cultivating selectivity. Choosing carefully where to place your energy is like tending a garden. You don't water weeds, you nurture what blooms. That's the difference between feeling drained by a relationship and feeling strengthened by it. Over time, this protection becomes your invisible shield. People realize your time and attention are not available on demand, and they begin to value every moment they have with you. And here comes an even sharper skill that deepens the impact of this posture in your interactions with women. 3. Invisible filters. How the Stoic man assesses without announcing it. A Stoic man knows that investing time, energy, and money in someone who doesn't share your values is like pouring water into a leaky bucket. That's why he develops the habit of creating small, subtle tests to observe patterns and see if real reciprocity exists. These filters are not mind games, but tools to protect his resources and ensure any involvement aligns with a healthy relationship. These tests can be as simple as observing a woman's reaction when he holds a clear boundary. If she respects his clarity and doesn't try to push past his decision, it's a sign of self-respect on her part too. If, on the other hand, she responds with emotional manipulation or negative reinforcement, it reveals a tendency to drain rather than contribute. Another filter is to analyze the response to strategic rejection. The Stoic man may decline a non-essential request and notice whether her reaction is mature or explosive. This shows more about emotional resilience and emotional control than 1,000 conversations. The rule here is simple. Those who handle no well are likely to handle life's inevitable challenges well too. He also evaluates how she deals with scarcity or discomfort. A practical example: delays, unforeseen issues, or moments when he can't offer immediate attention. Balanced reactions demonstrate genuine abundance and self-sufficiency. Disproportionate reactions reveal dependence and a lack of emotional maturity. These filters are applied without rush. The Stoic man watches, records mentally, and makes decisions without announcing that he's testing. It's a silent process, yet extremely effective at selecting connections truly worth the investment. After all, preserving trust and dignity begins with choosing who gets access to them. And here's a quick pause. If this kind of content is opening your eyes to things you never noticed before, hit the like button now and subscribe to the channel, because this is just the beginning. Let's keep going. 4. Unlearning to lead. Breaking the pleasing program from an early age. Many men were conditioned to believe their worth lay in pleasing women at any cost. Whether it was a well-meaning father saying, "Treat all women like princesses," or the praise in school for being the gentleman of the class. This narrative creates deep conditioning. A man will only be accepted if he is always helpful, submissive, and available. The problem is that, in adulthood, this pattern becomes an emotional trap that erodes self-esteem and self-respect. A man who grows up with this belief rarely sets boundaries. He confuses kindness with a lack of resource protection, giving away time, energy, and even money without assessing whether there is reciprocity. This puts him in a cycle of negative reinforcement, where each uncritical act of pleasing only reinforces the idea that his approval depends on self-sacrifice. The mature Stoic understands this mindset must be broken. He learns to apply strategic rejection when he notices requests based on emotional manipulation or that compromise his priorities. He still offers support, but with clarity and emotional control, focusing on building a healthy relationship where both contribute and grow stronger. Reversing this belief starts with small actions, saying no to requests that conflict with your goals, protecting your time for activities that strengthen your high standards, and practicing selectivity with those who gain access to your attention. It's not about stopping being good, it's about stopping being naive. The Stoic man sees that genuine abundance isn't being available to everyone, but being fully present for those who deserve it. He discovers that true respect comes when his actions show he values his own meaningful life as much as he values others. By breaking this childhood programming, he frees himself from decades of others' expectations. He starts attracting women who respect his emotional resilience, his dignity, and his self-respect, and avoids those who simply seek a passive provider. But there's still one detail that cements this transformation: how he sets his expectations from the very start of any relationship. 5. Clear expectations from the start, the foundation of respect. The Stoic man knows that expecting someone to guess his standards is inviting frustration. That's why he makes his priorities and boundaries clear from the very beginning. This transparency isn't harshness, it's clarity. It prevents misunderstandings, removes games, and sets the ground for reciprocity to grow naturally. By stating what he values, he protects his resources, time, energy, and money from being drained by unrealistic expectations. For example, if he works on important projects and has time blocked for them, he communicates that he won't be available for casual calls or last-minute meets during that time. This doesn't push away a mature woman. In fact, it increases the respect she feels for him. This stance requires self-confidence and emotional resilience. The man who isn't afraid to lose someone for keeping his boundaries communicates genuine abundance and self-sufficiency. He shows he is in the relationship by choice, not by need. This naturally filters out those seeking only validation and attracts those who value self-respect. To reinforce this communication, he uses practical examples in daily life. If he says he values high standards in conversation, he maintains constructive discussions and avoids pointless arguments. If he says he values kindness, he acts with courtesy himself, but never at the cost of firmness when it's needed. His actions and words walk together. The result is a healthy relationship where both know the implicit and explicit rules of engagement. This eliminates unnecessary emotional tests and drastically reduces conflicts. After all, when expectations are clear, there's more space to build rather than constantly repair. And this clarity is not just a communication tactic, it's a natural filter that separates those ready to contribute from those used to benefiting without giving back. But there's still one final skill that ties all this Stoic behavior together and makes it magnetic: consistency. 6. Consistency, the Stoic man's gold seal. The Stoic man understands there's no point in impressing at the start, only to slack off later. He knows that respect and admiration are maintained when there's consistency between words, actions, and posture over time. This steadiness conveys trust and creates a sense of emotional safety, something essential in any healthy relationship. Being consistent means keeping your boundaries regardless of the situation. If he applies strategic rejection to protect his resources, time, energy, money on a calm day, he will do the same when emotionally involved or under pressure. This predictability, far from being boring, is what reinforces his high standards and self-respect. Consistency also shows in his care for his own life. He continues investing in himself, seeking genuine abundance, developing skills, and maintaining his physical and mental health. This ongoing dedication keeps him in a position of self-sufficiency without relying on external validation to feel valued. And how he treats a woman, this means that his respectful and attentive behavior doesn't only show up when he wants to impress. It's simply part of who he is. He offers kindness when it's right, firmness when needed, and clear communication in any situation. This balance conveys dignity and emotional resilience. An inconsistent man who shifts between interest and disinterest breeds insecurity and mistrust. The Stoic man, through his steadiness, creates the opposite. He becomes predictably reliable. This strengthens not only the relationship, but also the woman's perception of his value. And it's precisely this consistency that closes the loop on everything we've discussed. Without it, any strategy, no matter how brilliant, collapses. With it, every gesture, every decision, and every word becomes a solid brick in building a meaningful life and genuine connections. Now that you understand how a true Stoic man treats women keeping boundaries, protecting his resources, acting with clarity and consistency, it's time to put it into practice. The question is, are you ready to drop old habits and finally take control of your relationships? How many times have you found yourself giving in out of fear of losing someone, even knowing it went against your priorities and self-respect? And what if, starting today, you acted with self-confidence and emotional resilience, making it clear that your presence is a choice, not an obligation? I want you to comment below with the phrase, "My value is non-negotiable." Write it as a public commitment to yourself, so you remember every day to maintain your high standard. Thank you sincerely for staying until the end. It shows you take your growth seriously and are willing to become the best version of yourself. Now, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to keep learning and strengthening your mindset.